party. Nice to see you. Follow me. We're going to the gallery. The gallery is where all the action is. Hey, you made it! Welcome to my world. Buffalo, Buffalo, Buffalo. Taking the show. Met her in the parking lot. She almost wouldn't let me come in.
I said, "Who's this lady with the blue hair?
What's
She's
up with the blue?
She's got to be doing something interesting."
And now I have blue eyebrows besides. It's really gone wild. Yeah, I know.
Do you have a concept of what your product is going to be before you start?
I have a concept, and then it changes at least 16 times before the thing gets done. Hello, sweetheart. Oh, you got some vino. Yeah, don't spill it down my back. Nice to see you.
Dude, this is awesome.
I think it's time to go into the auditorium.
Good evening. Welcome to Fox Run. My name is Michelle Birmingham, and thank you for venturing out in this wonderful weather. Every 3 months we have a different artist come in, and this is our 65th show in 2011. So Barbara comes in, and I talked to a couple of people who've been friends with her for decades, and I've got to say that I am envious. She is an amazing person, a wonderful new friend, obviously a phenomenal artist, and I've walked through this gallery, I don't know, 5 times a day for the past 3 months, and every time I go through, I see something else. So anyway, I know you came here to hear Barbara, so here is Barbara.
Almost like being a Buffalo Bill. Thank you. And I will tell you, Michelle has become a friend because she is a phenomenal and very patient person. Showed me how to use things like Facebook and all sorts of fancy things. Okay, let's get started. The most common question I get is, when did you know you were going to be an artist? Not quite yet. But this is when I learned how to show a little leg and how effective that can be. Right about here. You know, when I was a kid, you got one pair of shoes to wear to school in first grade. So my mom and I went shopping, and I found the coolest pair of banana yellow Mary Janes. And my mother's looking and thinking, and she's picturing the green plaid outfit that I'm going to wear, and this and the other thing. And she said, "You sure you want those?" And she let me get them. And then every time that Mrs. Lexer slapped her ruler down and told me to not read the same line twice, I looked at the ground, I saw my happy feet, and that's all that mattered. So thank you, Mom, for letting me be that expressive back then. And this is my mom. My mom was the best model of all time. So I say to her, "Mom, which one of these paintings that I did of you do you like the best? The one where I gave you scales on your nose? The one where I gave you a lizard neck? The wrinkled brow or puffy eyes?" She said, "No, the one she liked best is the one with the green teeth." That mom thought that her daughter was great at everything she tried. And thank you for that. Next we got Papa. This portrait I did about 10 years ago after being away from painting for a long, long time. My dad was 6'4", shock white hair, dynamite blue eyes, and his personality was such that when I didn't understand the physics or class, like what is specific gravity, he would sit me down and we would go through it till I knew it. And his expression was, if you can't say it, you don't know it. He was kind of tough, and I loved him a lot. Another thing I loved that he said was, I may not be the master of my fate, but I sure as hell am the navigator. And isn't that true for so many of us? Let's see. Oh, wait. Don't want to miss my action shot there. This is me in college. I was a hurdler. And look at that nice straight leg, huh? I qualified for nationals in the 400-meter hurdles. And the reason this is important to me is that I knew what the obstacle was, aside from the obvious hurdle. But you had to make 10 strides between the hurdles for as many as you could. I was getting to 6, and then by the time I got to the 7th, I had to switch legs, leading with my opposite leg, and that would slow me down. So I knew that the objective was to get to that 7th hurdle with 10 strides. I was either going to crumple in a heap, or I was going to break my own record. Turns out I broke my record, and I qualified for nationals, so it turned out pretty good. Thank you. Let me see. This was my senior project. It's a photo from National Geographic. That painting's about 2 foot by 3 foot, maybe 4 foot, something like that. And I still love it because of the warmth of it. And any springboard artist, I would strongly encourage going to National Geo because they have dynamite photos and you can end up with dynamite paintings. 1 year out of college, I worked at a lovely little fitness salon called Sophisticated Lady. Anybody remember that one? It came in handy because they had a slit up the side of the long skirt, and I was already familiar with showing off my leg, so that worked out in my favor. But it came in real handy when my car overheated and I needed to get the attention of some passerby. It really happened. But that was year 1, and then I made $1,000, and that's what I said my goal was. And then I opened up my little shop in a little place in Clarence, same shop that Wilson Greatbatch developed his pacemaker battery, and started out as a 20-year-old something, and I didn't buy clothes for 5 years. That's what I remember about being broke. But then a guy whisked me away to the downtown Ellicott Square building, and that is where I got my exposure to the beautiful architecture. But this is a sample of artwork that I did during that time because there was no illustration work. There was only graphic design work. And this is my table tent when I worked for the Hyatt. It's, a different take on just having a triangle. And then this was an award-winning campaign for this particular greenhouse. I mean, it was just wacky stuff like one-size-fits-all plants, and people loved it, so it was a fun time. But then my partner and I split, and I got to do things like this. That's foam rubber. That's about 4 foot tall. And it was airbrush painted, and it's foam rubber, yes, the cushions that you sit on in your car seat. I used those. I cut them up, I stitched them together, and I airbrush painted them, and I ended up with a fun collection of stuff like that. Here's the watermelon slice, and gee, look how cute I look back there 30 years ago. So cute. Oh yeah, look at that. That is a good use of foam rubber right there. A little rack.
What was this outfit?
Porcupine. Sure. And the Christmas tree. That was all about the holidays. And the city of Buffalo. This is one of my proudest things, the Prudential building. There's the tower, the County Hall, Seneca 1 that's called now. But what a joy it was, because I spent my first years downtown looking up, because I couldn't believe the spires, the gables, the architecture, the number of things that were just stunning, moving from Clarence to down there, and I really developed an appreciation for what was going on. And even, like, look at the Liberty Building here. Little puffs, and I tied strings around them to make the, oh, there's the close-up of one of the buildings. But I carved all those little windows out with a little X-Acto blade. That's probably about 1.5 feet tall. Ask me where that thing is now. Some plastic bag in storage somewhere. I hope it's still in one piece, but what are you going to do with it? Oh, I think this next picture is Archie and Juanita. This was a fun thing, because I went to college, I ran with their daughter. And when they had their 40th wedding anniversary, I did this floor-to-ceiling portrait of them. A couple years later, he passed away, but he was instrumental in the founding of the William Emsley YMCA downtown. And they wanted to build a monument to acknowledge him, and they called on me to sculpt the bust of Archie and also design the pedestal on which it stood. I had to recruit a good friend to help with the bust because I hadn't done that sort of thing before. But it is an absolute honor to be able, now I've made something that's gonna stand the test of time, right? No one's gonna come in there and paint over it. It's gonna be standing behind that YMCA so that all those kids can honor this man all these years later. And this turned into my taking those young kids, showing them how to do a relief, which is half of a bust, just the front side of the face, carve that out of clay. And I never had a more rewarding thing than to have these young people be so proud of these things that they made, that they could take home and show their mom, and look, Mom, I made this with my own hands. And these are like, 8 to 10-year-old, 12-year-old kids, just joyful. And so it's nice that meeting, doing this led to those other things. So as I mentioned before, I started doing the outdoor shows about 7 years ago. Oh, I got to talk about spot coffee. That was my introduction to doing work, commercial work for the places downtown, because spot coffee was a new thing back then. You probably all heard of it now, but when they were looking for designers, people came in and said, okay, I'm going to take some Martha Stewart cafe curtains and do some gingham plaid over here and do these formal sort of treatments for your restaurant. And I came in and I said, okay, we're going to grab some purple burlap and we're going to rip it and we're going to tear it and we're going to put it in knots and we're going to hang it and swag it over here and do whatever weird things. And look what they got. They got purple burlap and it's swagged and hooked and stuff and all over there. Look at the treatment of this pillar right here. They were open. They were good customers. They were open to weirdness. I mean, those are my kind of customers. And I loved doing the work and they loved having me. And ooh, right here, see this coffee cup? That's me jumping out of the coffee cup right there. Either into or out of. I did not do that mural, but someone took my picture and put me in there. This is McMonkey's Tropical Pub. Here's my car, by the way. This is how I treated the holes. The rust spots in my car, they got covered with vinyl cutout spots. It also turned up on the back of my wedding dress, right, Rob? But this was a fun thing to do, and this like giraffe head extending up into underneath the neon, but that was all done with oil paint. There's my first buffalo, I think, right there. I spent 4 years painting McMonkeys, inside and out. In 4 days, the new owner painted everything beige. So you want to know why I have a hard time letting go of my paintings? That's inside of McMonkeys. Fortunately, a lot of beer companies sponsored my work. So I was able to get paid from Labatt's for doing stuff like that, as long as I incorporated their product. Jim's Stakeout. This was a cool one because, like this submarine being made of gears and screws and parts, and the taco being made of shards of metal, and the French fries being bolted together. This big bolt over here, on the end of it is a chicken wing, and they let me do it, God bless them. It's nothing like having a good customer who lets you cut loose. I think these are curly fries, right? Must be in the middle. That's still up there, 30 years later. So God bless you, Jim. More stuff from McMonkeys. This is one of my favorite things, having all those little canvases sewn together like that. Elephant, zebra, snake. It was fun. This was not uncommon for me to be 40 feet in the air. Back then, I gotta say, I was pretty fearless. There's no way in hell I'd do that now. But this is all fluorescent, and I just did a lot of out there stuff, and I was a good sport, I would go wherever they wanted me to go and paint. This is more bar painting. You see, sponsored by Corona. I'll just tell you one little thing about this. Because I left town, I painted this down to here so that when they put in the designed railing, which they had spec'd to come to here, I would be all set. Well, they decided they didn't want to cover any of my artwork. So then I had to go finish painting all the way down. Anyway, guys. These are the same guys who said, I'll be there to help you move the scaffolding. I'll be there to help you lift up the 5-gallon bucket. I'll be there to do all this stuff, but yet my shoulders are busted and my back is sore, but I got through it. This is McMonkeys again, and with a big shiny gloss of finish on there. But look at the nice colors, huh? And here is next door. I think this is 67 West. Now it's called something else maybe. But people really thought that that was a chain and a bolt and a condemned area. That was just the entrance to the back patio. But people were afraid to go. But it was a cool thing. I think what really makes it is that pylon down there, Do not enter here. This painting happened because it was autumn. I was riding my bicycle home from Delaware Park after having played tennis, and someone left a large, sturdy window frame at their curb. And I said, boy, I could sure stretch a canvas over that. And so I love the autumnal skies, love all that. But if you look, I couldn't stop with having every leaf be the same. We've got something along the lines of a butterfly. We got a set of wolf eyes up there. We got a happy guy up there. We have a man's torso right there, watch out. More happy faces over here, goofy faces over there. And that is just, you don't see that right away, and that's what makes life fun for me. If you spend a little time looking, there's cool stuff. And that painting is here. It's the first time it's been displayed, actually, and it was done at least 10 years ago. This is my grandpa. See, I always wanted to be a portrait artist, but as I say, people were afraid because, especially my work incorporates swirls, lines, and patterns, and women don't like any more lines in their face than they already have, so I was not a hit with them. But my grandfather, God bless him, that's the house that they lived in. He was loved his tomatoes. He was always stories about tomatoes. And here's he was a shoemaker when people actually did it instead of so much machine work. But he had a shoe shop in Elmira, and we saw all sorts of rewards from that. And this is another portrait I did of a set of friends of mine. I guess they liked it, but. It's just touchy, too much red. Who knows why you're going to reject something? There's another one that's in these. But these are all like good friends. These are not commissions or hires because, people were afraid. There's my nephew. But those are nice, they're fun things of people who let me do what I want to do. There's Terry Pagula. And I found a nice painting of the sabers when they had just gotten done with some casual thing in Russia where there was no, it was hard to find all the sabers together when they're not doing something forceful, mean, or nasty. They were just happily skating. Remember the year we had this little short guy? Remember him? Yeah. So anyway, I did another one of Kim, but that. Okay, here's my first buffalo. So I take this buffalo and I show it to Rob, and I say, well, what do you think, dear? He said, that looks like a woolly mammoth. So out of respect for him, I changed my style to more like this, which is what we have in the room out there. And it wasn't enough for me because when I did my first art shows, people said, I love your style. Do you have any buffalo stuff? Well, hell yes, I do now, as you know. But I wanted it to be our buffalo. So this wheat became buildings over here. And so those are some of the heavy hitters in the building area. But that has still been a good seller for me because people like the warmth of it and the clouds and just everything. It's called the Rome Stops Here. This is the progression of Queen City Spiral. Now, after selling this item for 4 years, there's a man named Mark Croce who had a lot of bars and restaurants downtown. He gave me a lot of work. He was a wonderful guy, and he died in a helicopter crash. He bought the Statler Towers when everyone else seemed willing to let it rot. So when I wanted to pay homage to this man who gave me a good career in painting, so I changed that side of the City Hall. I put the Statler Towers in there out of respect for him. And then, of course, the Rand building, which I've had people say, I'm not buying that. My building's not in there. So now the Rand building is in there, too. And I understand they lighted it up. So that's the piece as it is today. And it makes me proud to have this because, all those years of looking up at the cool stuff that's up there instead of looking at the ground, it gave me a sense of respect, and I think it's reflected here. This was the origin of the homage to Olmsted. Now, the idea was I was going to keep doing these skies with stuff in them, naturally you're going to have the sky showing through. But when I realized that the next tribute I wanted to pay was to the Buffalo Foods, I said, what am I going to do, have a white plate back there? So I decided to color theme these things. And the color turned to this vivid green that you see here. And consequently, the overall look of the piece got a little dark, but I don't care too much about that. But what we've done here, on the tennis ball, there's always a name. This says Fred. Up there, I made my brick signature into Eric, so it says Fred Eric. On the volleyball, Law. On the baseball, Ohm. On the basketball, Stead. So we've got Fred, Rick, Law, Olmsted on the balls around the painting. Just, you got to respect these people. We're fortunate to have all this wonderful stuff in the city. And here comes, unbelievably, the response to this piece. I shouldn't be surprised because people do love our food. So here's the progression of a reflection of our good taste. Now, in my mind, as I said, the background was going to be a plate. I was going to have all these images reflected off of a plate. One reason was because I didn't want to have, like a bunch of labels, just reading labels. I really was good. The only remnant of the plate that's still there is this little swash right here. But the reflection is, without the plate being there, it is still a reflection of our good taste. And I just kept adding more and more food, so there's no breathing room in here at all. But I couldn't help it. I'm looking at it going, how can I leave out rich product stuff? How can I leave out Rudy's blue cheese? So they're all in there. And probably I still get requests for, why isn't something else in there? But, the chicken wings are in there. That's the most important thing. This piece is out in the lobby. And I want you to see how ugly things can start out as. Looks kind of weird to me now, but that's, you know, you build the base and you add until you get what you want. This is the one where I tried to put the city reflected in the eyeball, struggling with 3 or 4 ways of how to do it with the tiniest brushes that I had. This guy, of course, looks like he has glaucoma, so that got nixed. So then we tried this approach. That's what that, so that amount of time went into making that eyeball you just saw, and it all got wiped out because of glaucoma. And this is what we ended up with. A nice reflection of 4 simpler buildings. Was that applause?
That was mine, yeah.
Wait, louder, applause. Jake, are you getting this? The applause. Thanks, guys. That's called ICU, BFLO. And here's another one where it's a nice image. It came from a black and white photo, but I saw the glow. And I knew, you know, color selection is not the easiest thing for me. So things change colors a bunch of times, but I definitely like a contrast here. And God, purple, you can't ever go wrong with purple. So we've got the number 1 in the eyeball. That's the reflective. I guess I was on a roll with the eyeball thing then. But down here, we have City Hall, the McKinley Monument, the electric tower, all the buildings, and then the little lighthouse down there. So I need, as I say, I'd like to have it be our Buffalo. This is our town, this is our stuff, this is our city, this is our Buffalo. So I want to make sure I include something of us in there every time. Bustin' hooves. When I go to look for pictures of buffaloes, you get a good idea of the hump, you get a good idea of the horns, you get a good idea of the head, the tail, whatever, but the hooves are always buried in the grass. So I made it my mission to find out what these hooves really look like. Sometimes they crisscross and are uneven, what they look like from different angles, up, down, around, and, you know, dancing up back there. And, well, heck, I might as well make it swirl into a little dance move now. So I added the head and the face. But I needed to know in my head what these hooves look like because, you know, they could look like a horse's hoof or something else, but because of what I went on to do, if I'm going to be a buffalo painter lady, I need that information. So that's where that painting came from, and I think it's kind of nice. Okay, this is called Only Emotion. Is that only emotion, or is it only emotion away? You take your pick. The representation of the baby buffalo here, shaken as he's taking his first steps up to the top of City Hall. And then how did Mama get up there with him? She's on cloud 9. This one is, for $9.99, is available as a note card back there. No, but that I wanted to have to take to Children's Hospital so that when a buffalo baby was born, they had a buffalo card to send out to celebrate that. Have I gone to the hospital yet to sell them? No. We'll get around to it one of these days. Okay, this is a series of sketches from, you know, when I'm on a plane or whatever. I want to think about what do these buffaloes look like? What are they when they're like drunk? You know, the wrinkly tongue, singing, the drink spilling on the bar, the piano playing. Because down at the end there is going to be my continuous piece, which I'll talk about later. But I just kind of wanted to go through some of these to show you what I'm thinking when my mind is you know, doing its thing. There's some lipstick on a pig up there. But it's fun to do, you know, like the teeth. Buffalo have really weird teeth, and it's never really a happy thing when you see them. But you can make it that way. You know, if you work it a little bit, you try to coincide this is, you know, a picture of a kid from the newspaper going down a slide. So I try to do the sketch, and then how can I make it into a buffalo? How far can I take that? Will that kid's face ever look good as on a buffalo? I don't think he made the cut yet, but that's the thought process. See, I told you, I go to the obituaries. Now look at how cool this guy's face is. That's a cool face. That's the drawing of the face, and there he is, the buffalo. So maybe someday he'll be on that canvas down there. My dad was in the service. My dad never stopped talking about his Navy days. So I wanted to do this buffalo looking back. This is our waterfront. These are our stones with the staples in them. He's looking back at this beautiful little rock. The buildings around him are standing up military style. And this painting draws more emotion than any painting I've ever done. And I think it's because people in the military, they just got it right here, you know. And they're happy. They're glad to see their image reflected, buffalo strong and with a naval ship strong. This is called Sailor's Delight. But actually, the sun is in the wrong direction, because that would be sailors take warning where the sun's setting there, but it's okay. This is called Buffalo Lily, fresh off the press, although I've been working at it for 3 years, because who wants to paint the same buffalo 15 times? Not me so much. But this little guy's escaping, so that kind of stuff made it fun for me. It's a cute little thing. Where's Lily? Raise your hand. She's going to get one free because her name is Lily. This is my Uncle John. This is the kind of portrait work that people like to see. You know, it's conservative and it's honorable. And when you get to be 94 years old, you should have someone doing a portrait of you that is not playful, not wacky, but honorable. So that's what I wanted to do for him. Oh, okay. Now, before the pandemic, I do these Elmwood festivals, and I desperately wanted people to be able to play like they're at a circus and give this buffalo over here some sort of a look. I was going to cut a hole in the canvas and have people be able to play like you do when you pop your head into one of those, you know, when you're at the circus. But the pandemic happened, and nobody's going to put their face where anybody else's face was, so that went away. But look at that result. Can you just, I get to see that. I get to see these happy people with my artwork. I am paid 1,000 times when I see this. Okay. Now we're going on to the world of what the heck are you thinking about? This was my pandemic-inspired idea called Art a la carte. I want to take my art where the people are, is basically what it is. There's no shows, but I'm still making art. And so I wanted to find a way to do that. So I schemed this up in the winter, spent the spring building it, and by the fall, it was almost ready to go. And the reason it took so long is because I married an engineer, and he wanted to make sure everything was right, and I didn't end up getting stranded. You see this? I get more comments on this than I do on all the artwork. This is a universal joint made by my husband, Rob, sitting right over there, from bed frames. Everything on that cart is curb shopped, including the parts that made that universal joint. And I'm serious that people just stop and say, get that cart out of the way so I can see that universal joint that it made there. This is the start, really cool sky that I saw on the way, on the Skyway. I mean, when you go down that skyway, you get that big vista and you can see those clouds rolling in. It's glorious. So I thought, that's a cool image. Went home, painted this canvas, and then I thought, wouldn't it be cool if those, instead of being just breaks in the clouds, they sort of look like the Great Lakes? I wonder if that would be cool if I made it into the Great Lakes. But then I decided maybe the Buffalo Bills cloud, it would be better. Something like that would appeal to more people. So this is what I ended up with here, and it's called Shooting. Everybody's crazy people. I take a little bit of gold, actually it's got gold mica in it, it's really a metallic surface, and I put it coming out of that lighthouse. But once again, the decisions I had to make about, am I going to have it totally reflected in there? How spangly do you make the water without having it be obnoxious? How bold is that line? There's just all sorts of things that don't come out right the first time. And so you try, and then a month later you get something that you hope people like. And then we had that business with Damar Hamel. And I thought it would be nice to send his mom this image with the threes turning into doves coming from the lighthouse. And so that is, she actually lives in Pennsylvania. And this particular print was on display in the Genesee picture frame front window. It's a frame shop downtown. And somebody broke the window to try to get, I'm saying they were going to get my painting. I don't think they cared about money. I think they wanted to come in here and get this image. So it has shards of glass embedded in it. It has retouched surfaces in it. And to me, that is more meaningful to give to his mom because it has a story behind it. Because it adds a little value because it was a sought after thing. And I had to do a lot of touching up and so I thought that would be a nice thing to give her. And this is my brother, my big brother, who could not be here tonight, but he is damn proud of me for getting through this. Thank you. I have questions. Thank you. Now what? So where's my cocktail? You promised me a cocktail when I got through with this. Or two. I can't thank you guys enough for coming. That was really sweet. Really sweet. Let me go over here first, because as I was talking in my sketches about the different faces, how far can I push a buffalo? This little lady has lipstick on over here. The band is doing, how far can I push the lips to be like sort of human, but sort of ape. Look at ape. Yeah, that's the problem. They come out looking like apes sometimes. But blowing on the saxophone, singing. This woman is like just so tired of these two joking around all the time. This guy's, see, here's the hoof thing. How much does that look like a hoof? And he's giving us the 3-0. This guy welcoming us. Here's the bottom of his hoof. Come to our Buffalo bar. And this guy's, sort of got a grudge. This is a series I'm working on called Backwards and in Heels. It is going to be all those famous images you see. This is called fear thrower. Okay, so it's a takeoff on a spear thrower, right? You see the form, her hands up there, and the strong legs, little skinny waist. And then over here is the takeoff of, this is a woman, she is the trophy wife, looking like the Heisman Trophy, right? And then there's going to be a few other ones. But the idea, I mean, you've probably heard that Fred Astaire's dance partner there always said, yeah, he's a good dancer, but I do what he does, but backwards and in heels. So I've got a couple other images that are going to be on this line, and they're all going to be done on people's storm doors that they've put to the curb. So don't hesitate. What else?
Blue hair. I'm just saying.
Wait a minute. I'm going to give you the microphone.
First of all,
yes.
When your artwork appeared, I was overwhelmed. I'm
Thank
a dabbling artist, and I mean dabbling. And when
That's how
I
it
looked
starts.
at every screen and what was involved, I had no idea what you'd go through to create those. You are an incredible human being.
Oh, keep talking. I love you, baby. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. It has been a thrill.
Do you paint every day?
No. This whole business, I do not paint every day. I paint in January, February, and March. And then this whole business of making reproductions, matting, framing, cataloging, signing is the biggest. I need a manager or someone who can help me with all that. So let me know. This is the non-artistic part.
I'm with March.
This is the tedious.
Yeah.
I need a tedium lover. Stop right here at our $25 Bursts of Sunshine. You can have one of these little numbers for $25. Here's the other side.
What's your art training?
You know those people who have no professional training? I hate those people. My degree is in medical illustration. That means you look through a microscope and you draw the Sardaria filamicola and the mitochondria and all those little plasms things. Or you find a doctor who is doing a new procedure, and you need someone who can draw the femur connected to the ligaments, the veins, and all that other stuff. That was what I went to school for, and what I did love. but didn't know how to get a job. But I'll tell you what, if you do want to get a job, go to your parents' parties, I mean for the young people, because the job I did get out of college was because my father was good friends with someone who owned a graphics company. So I got to work for, I had no graphics background. I was an illustrator. Try to find a job as an illustrator, you know. Not a lot of call. The way it went was I did graphics for 20 years in the downtown area, and then somebody came to me about paint, you know, with Spot Coffee in the bars, and I got to do illustrations again, big, huge, life-size, I mean, larger than life illustrations. I'm painting these whole walls. But when I first decided to move up into my attic, my husband put in a skylight, so I had natural light coming in. It was a small space, and I was working on canvases that were at least this big because, hell, I was used to working on whole walls, and I couldn't believe how confining it was to have to paint such a small thing. Okay, now my studio's filled with about 20 pieces this size. And then we get down to the smaller size. Now I'm walking through my studio like this because I've absolutely run out of room. So I'm forced to work on smaller pieces, but that just means smaller brushes, right? I can do it.
I have been wondering what you dream about.
Oh, I dream about you, my love. Oh, sorry, Lord. I wish I knew. I do my dreaming when I'm in front of the canvas, not, you know, it's such a joy to be able to sit and just, the hours just float by. It's just so rewarding and relaxing and everything. You people have been great. I've enjoyed this so much, I can't even tell you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yay! You did it.